Hello and warm welcome to join us for this edition of AIN in English News, and I'm Abdul Ahad Mohammadi. The U.S. has taken Pakistan into confidence over allowing the Taliban a political office in Qatar to advance the Afghan reconciliation process, sources said. A senior Pakistani official stated that the Obama administration not only sought Pakistan's consent over the Taliban office, but had also given a green light to allow the Haqqani network to be a part of the reconciliation process. The U.S. has long resisted talks with the Haqqani network, which is based in North Waziristan. Pakistan military had even urged the U.S. to announce a ceasefire in Afghanistan, creating favorable conditions for talks with the insurgents. It was disclosed, but Washington instead of following that policy, initiated talks with the Taliban on its own, a Pakistani official said, on condition of anonymity. The CIA is likely to resume the drone campaign in Pakistani tribal areas that it had apparently called off following a deadly NATO airstrike on Pakistani border posts in 2011. However, this time around, the frequency and intensity of attacks by pilotless aircraft would not be as high as it was in the past. Pakistani sources say that both sides have almost agreed on fresh terms of engagements to resume drone attacks against suspected Al-Qaeda members and their local facilitators hiding in the Pakistani tribal areas, including North and South Waziristan. The deadly aircrafts operated from the CIA headquarters in Virginia would now be flying from American air bases in Afghanistan, said an official privy to the developments taking place behind the scene. Only 1 in 3 Afghans has access to electricity despite years of spending to improve supply, and the country is still far too dependent on imported power, the head of the state-owned power utility said. Abdulrazak Samadi, the chief executive officer at the Afghanistan Birashna Shirkat, said the situation in the capital Kabul is far better than the rest of the country, with around 70% of households connected. But residents complained about low voltage of power, which said in many residential areas, people cannot turn on their TV sets. Samadi also estimates Afghanistan will need around 3,000 megawatts to meet the country's needs by 2020, compared with current supply of around 600 megawatts. A split between the U.S. and its European allies has emerged over the role of Afghan local police units, seen by American commanders as critical to the military exit strategy. A year after the ALP was launched, the U.S. military has announced a plan to triple its numbers from a current strength of 9,800 to 30,000 by the end of 2013, with further expansions beyond that. British officials, however, have voiced anxiety over the strategy, particularly over the capabilities of the ALP. Meanwhile, German officers have warned their American counterparts the local forces could run out of control once their U.S. mentors and paymasters leave. ALP has been accused by rights group of human rights violations. A car bomb wounded 15 Afghan pilgrims on their way to the Shiite shrine cities of central Iraq early on Monday, medical and security officials said. The bombing, which struck west of the city of Hela, had a group of pilgrims waiting near a garage just after midnight. A police officer in the province said, "We received 15 wounded persons, including 3 people seriously hurt by the explosion," said a doctor at Hela Hospital. Shia pilgrims from around the world flocked to the shrine cities of Najaf and Karbala on the occasion of Arba'in. An American man of Iranian descent has been sentenced to death by a court in Tehran for spying for the CIA, local media reported. Amir Mirza Hekmati was sentenced to death for cooperating with a hostile nation membership of CIA and trying to implicate Iran in terrorism, semi-official Fast News agency said. The 28-year-old's trial last month heard he had confessed to the charges, but Mr. Hekmati's U.S.-based family says he was in Iran visiting his grandmother. The U.S. has said he has been falsely accused and has called for his release. Mr. Hekmati was accused by Iran of receiving training at U.S. bases in Afghanistan and Iraq before being sent to Iran. The United States will respond if Iran tries to close the strategic Strait of Hormuz at the entrance to the Gulf. U.S. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta warned Sunday, saying his country will still have the strongest army in the world despite a recent decision to slash military spending. We made very clear that the United States will not tolerate the blocking of the Strait of Hormuz, Panetta said. He was seconded by General Martin Dempsey, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who said Iran has the means to close the waterway through which 20% of the world's oil passes. Pervez Musharraf, Pakistan's self-exiled former president, has said he plans to return to the country in January to lead his political comeback, while sources said he is seeking for guarantees that he will not be arrested when he returns. He was addressing a rally of around 8,000 people in Karachi via video link on Sunday from Dubai. Musharraf struck a defiant tone and renewed his pledge to return to Pakistan despite security threats and possible arrest, saying he was ready to risk his life for the Pakistani people and termed the cases against him as baseless. He said there were efforts to scare him. Supporters set off fireworks after his announcement. Arab ministers meeting in Cairo have given observers in Syria the green light to continue their mission, despite a barrage of criticism and calls for their withdrawal, and asked the regime in Damascus to put an immediate end to violence against protesters. On the ground, at least 20 people were killed across the country on Sunday. The General Commission of the Revolution said clashes between the Syrian army and deserters before dawn left at least 11 soldiers dead and another 20 wounded, according to the British-based activist group, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. And that's all for now. Thanks for being with us.